We should go to our next one because we may be short on time, but it's okay. You know what? The next show is not as important as you.
No, exactly. It is. Gotta get back.
We don't.
Okay, let's go to our the question of healthcare, and your thoughts on that. Go ahead when you're ready.
Well, I think we have to lower costs by building on the bill that we already passed. I think we can't go back to the Bush era.
It's all right. Go ahead and finish.
No, that's good. Actually, we can't go back to the Bush era where insurance companies kind of controlled everything. I know there's been a lot of skepticism about this health care bill, but give it a chance. It's not perfect. Believe me, I know. I was there when they passed it. Certainly the process was not perfect the way they passed it. There's a lot of good stuff in this bill. People up to age 26, students, you get out of school, you may not have a job yet, people get out of the military, they may not have, they're now qualified to be under their parents' plan. Little kids can't be turned down anymore. If their families try to get health insurance for them when they have diabetes or asthma. I mean, these are big things.
Yeah.
I
want to ask you this: and I've read that you're in favor of the bill on the whole, but there are some things that you'd still like to change, and there are some things that don't really sit well with you. Are there a couple things in particular that you'd like to mention?
Yeah. A lot of the Republicans, including my opponent, bring up this 1099 requirement that businesses have to file. And I think that's right. I think it is onerous on businesses, and it doesn't even save much money. Let's just get rid of that. I already voted to get rid of that once. And more broadly, we've got to invest a lot more in graduate medical education, because if we don't, we're going to bring a lot more people to the insurance, and they're going to go to try to find primary care physicians, and they won't have them. And so, as long as we get more doctors, nurses, etc., to be able to treat people coming in, it actually will save money because people getting preventative care, it's a lot cheaper than go to the emergency room. But you got to have those doctors and nurses and other professionals.
And if there was one rumor about the healthcare bill that you'd want to bust, that you'd want to just say, I'm sorry, that's flat out false.
Yeah.
Is there one that you can think of? If not, I understand.
So many. Well, the death panels, my opponent actually got written up in the New York Times for saying that they had a body mass index. Totally false. There's no IRS agents hired by the bill. That's false. But I think that the one thing that almost nobody believes that this bill is going to save money, except the experts who actually score bills, and they're nonpartisan experts, and they look at it and they say it's going to bend the cost curve. Not as much as maybe we have to eventually. That's why we have to keep going.
Right.
But repealing this is just going to cost more money because we did put in cost savings.
Yeah.
And so for now it's a good step, but there's still work to be done on it.
It's the first step.
No, we had talked about in the past that they put a lot of legislation on top of it, and that was probably the biggest issue, that there was all these side notes and abbreviations and things like that didn't actually go along with it, but that just made it a stop in Congress even more because you might not have agreed with one small thing, but you agreed with
or even the way it was done. You guys are too young, but maybe you saw it on the internet. Schoolhouse Rock. Remember the cartoon?
Oh
with
yeah.
The bill?
Oh yeah.
Just a bill.
Absolutely.
Yes,
right.
Only a bill. Well, sorry, not.
We love it.
Go ahead.
Good legislator, not good singer. But anyway,
it's fine. It's okay.
It's so
Acceptable.
different the way this went through, and so messy. It's like making a hamburger. It's like you might like the hamburger, but you don't want to see it being ground up.
This is true.
And so it put a lot of bad taste in people's mouths. And frankly, my party, including my president, didn't get out there, didn't tell people what was in it. It's not. No wonder why people don't know what's in it. It's not their fault. We
and it was dense as well. It was a
it was very dense. It's complicated. It's like you can't go to the surgeon and say, I want a 10-minute surgery to take care of my my heart murmur. But so it's not so much that it's complicated as a problem, but we needed to take more time to explain it to the American people, and that I agree with.
All right, and the next issue we haven't. We're going to talk about education. So
Okay.
your stance on education. Go ahead.
Well, I think we just need to have more of a national commitment, make it more of a national priority, but continue local control.
Awesome.
So, like you said, continued local control.
Well, we don't really have local control now.
Right.
Now we've got all these mandates that come from above, but the money all comes from the local.
Yes.
Right.
I think we need to sort of do the opposite of that. Localities like Syracuse has got the Say Yes to Education program. They're working with the university. They're working with other colleges. They're working with the schools, the unions, everybody. It's a great idea. Nobody else kind of is doing this the same way, and yet the federal government doesn't really reward that. It doesn't fit in their little boxes. On the other hand, we have to come up with money to do all these state and federal mandates. Only 7 cents of every education dollar comes from the federal government now. People think it's a lot more than that. It's only 7 pennies of every 100. why can't it be 8 or 9? If it's this much of a national
Or how
priority,
about 50?
Yeah.
Well, exactly.
Why stop at 8 or 9?
I mean,
Let's
defense.
go
You know,
big.
compare it to other things. If it's such a national priority, and it should be, because not just because every child deserves to be educated as I feel he or she does, and I went to public schools and I am here today, but also because it's our economy. Again, high tech, green tech. Not, we're going to need more and more skilled workers, which means better education.
Absolutely.
Totally. And then we're going to do our last one here, and this one is about national security. So your thoughts on that? Go ahead.
We need to focus on fighting terrorism, but not civil wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and bring the troops home.
Awesome.
So, and I have read that being against, sort of, you've said that you're against the surge that Obama suggested in Afghanistan. Reasoning behind that, obviously bringing the troops home is always a good reason, but is there more?
Well, yeah, I mean, clearly if I thought that the Afghanistan mission was truly helping our national defense, of course, and originally it did. After 9/11, we needed to send troops there. We needed to get rid of Al-Qaeda. Well, there's no Al-Qaeda left in Afghanistan. Osama bin Laden, I don't think he's there. He might be in France. We don't know. He might be dead. We don't know. And the Taliban has been totally, they've been overthrown. Now, they could come back.
Right.
But we could be there 100
Yeah,
years
that's
and
not
they
our
could still
job.
come back.
Yep.
So
we're fighting someone
guess
else's
the question.
civil war.
I guess the question I would ask is that if we were to leave and there's like things get worse, wouldn't it then reflect on us like, hey, you guys started the problems here, shouldn't you be still helping with this?
It might grant, but us staying longer isn't going to change that.
True.
Now,
just sort of
at least not without a much, much bigger commitment. If we
Yeah.
want to do what we did after World War II in Japan, go in, really occupy the country, build the government, build the infrastructure, and make that kind of commitment, then maybe we could make it stable.
Right.
But if Afghanistan, even harder than Iraq, much harder than like Japan ever was, because there's not an educated class there. There was one once, small, but there was one once, but it moved out in 1980. And their children all grew up in San Francisco and London. When we met with, I went to Afghanistan last year in December, and we met with Karzai, and he told us that more than.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it was a vacation with your wife.
No,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
no, she wanted to go, but
Well, good for
they
her.
wouldn't allow. The military wouldn't allow her.
Right.
But anyway, the more than half of Karzai's family is from the United States. The problem is unless we're willing to make that kind of commitment, we're not really going to help them with the military. We can help them with humanitarian organizations, but we're not going to really help them. In the meantime, we are bogged down there.
Yeah.
So I just got a letter from a soldier that we helped finish his firefighter training before he went over.
Oh, very cool.
And he was just writing, it's just been a very, very tough month. A lot of the people where he is around Marja are with the Taliban, not so much because they don't like Americans, but they just don't see Americans as staying.
Right.
And it doesn't, a surge, a few more months, is not going to change that, but we're going to lose a lot more people. I think we got to come home.
And in terms of finding Osama bin Laden, I think that's got to stay a top priority. Or how do you think?
Yeah, I would love to. I think we do. I think the intelligence has to do that. But I can tell you, I have no idea where he is, and I doubt.
I don't think we expect that of you.
Yeah, that's not like one of the things on like what does Dan Maffei know? Does
Yeah,
he
exactly.
know where Osama bin Laden
Sorry,
is?
I'm
Nope.
taking my vote elsewhere
Yeah,
because you
don't
know
know where
he is.
Osama bin
I
Laden
sometimes
is. Unacceptable.
am sometimes privy to these top secret. I go to a place in the Capitol that's called the Code of Silence.
Ooh.
This
I
is
just
what we
call
want
it
to
that.
have.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Right, and they tell us they have these top secret briefings. Obviously, I cannot tell you what they say in these top secret briefings.
Understandable.
But I can tell you that if they projected some of this stuff on a huge widescreen TV, or like one of those old-fashioned drive-in movie theaters, and played it on huge speakers, I still wouldn't understand all the jargon that they're
Right.
saying.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, the fact is that the military did a fantastic job in getting rid of the Taliban government, in getting Al-Qaeda out of Afghanistan and breaking up those cells. We could be there forever, and we're never necessarily going to stabilize that country, and that's why we got to get out now.
Fair enough.
Argument,
And I think now that we're through the issues, I want to just ask you quickly. Most recent poll came out, had a 12-point advantage in your favor, and now that we're very close to the day of the election, how are you guys feeling at the campaign? Do you guys feel good? Is there a confidence, or is there how's it going?
It's like all those people who bet on West Virginia against SU. You don't score the game before it starts.
True.
And
we love to do that, though.
of course, we
love
got to
it.
do that. Well,
Right.
people love it even more with politics than they do with sports.
Oh yeah.
But I
There should be Vegas odds on political elections, by the way. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah, maybe that would bring back Nevada. I think that we're, I feel confident, but I also know that this is a tough year for Democrats, mostly because our people aren't going to get out to vote. Do you know the estimate is, and I believe in that poll too, that only 10% of the electorate will be under the age of 40.
Wow.
Yeah.
10% of the electorate under the age of 40. So.
Well, I think the overall message then is just vote.
Vote.
Do your civic duty.
Vote. And you know what? It does. Even if you go in and don't even vote for anybody, but you just go in and register, that you voted, that helps. People go, why does everybody never listen to young people? Well, if it was a bigger voting bloc, they would. When they came out for Obama, people listened.
Oh, yeah.
So, now that's my plea. Obviously, I want people to vote for me, but just go and vote.
Right.
Right. And if you don't know if you're registered, call my campaign. We can tell you. You probably are. If you've been in New York, if you have a driver's license, if you have a New York driver's license, you're almost certainly registered.
And the other thing is, registering is often easier than people think.
Yeah, although
not that difficult.
Well, New York makes it harder than some places. But you should register, whether or not you vote in this election. It's a way of being counted. And what they always say is, if you don't vote, you lose the right to complain. And boy, is it fun to complain.
Oh yeah, that's all we do.
Well,
an hour of complaining.
Welcome back to radio. I have a quick thing I just thought of now. California is on their ballot. They're considering passing Prop 19 to legalize marijuana.
Yeah.
We're not going to do the time or anything. Yeah. Just in case you have any thoughts on that.
Look, I've always supported marijuana for medical purposes. I think physicians should be allowed to prescribe drugs available when they're safe, etc. And that includes aspirin, and or includes things like pharmaceuticals, and if they can do codeine,
Vicodin or whatever.
Yeah, and there's certain conditions that clearly marijuana is good for. But I do think it should. I don't think they should legalize it. But as a federal official, that's up to the states, and it is. If California votes that way,
that's what we decided.
Exactly. And if New York someday wants to vote that way, that's New York. I personally don't think it's the right message right now, and so. But that's it's not a federal issue. I do, however, support reforming the Rockefeller drug laws. Look, somebody makes a mistake or whatever, don't throw them in jail and throw away the key. If it's nonviolent, if it's a drug offense or something, work it out. Do treatment. Do whatever you need to do. If a person needs treatment, if it's a one-time thing, whatever. I think we just use common sense.
All right. By the way, common sense, great idea.
Go campaign on that. Common sense.
Yeah. And just one last question for you. Any plans for Halloween?
Yeah.
There's a rumor.
We love rumors.
Evil Dan Maffei may reappear.
Ooh. We remember Evil Dan Maffei from the Colbert Report.
Yeah, I'm trying to repress it. Let's see. Halloween, is a night of where anything can happen.
And who doesn't love wearing a false mustache?
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't? Who doesn't? And as I learned after I did that appearance on Colbert's show, removing one. Yeah, now that
probably
fun.
is not the
that's
fun
part.
Never take it off, though.
Yeah,
that's the life lesson. Keep it on forever.
I don't know if my wife sometimes gets stuff waxed.
Right.
And I now know what that feels like.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dan Maffei, for joining us in studio. And it's been really a great time. Good luck on the campaign. And
get out there and vote on Tuesday.
Yes, that is the message. Do your civic duty and vote. Thank you so much for joining us.
I hope you invite me back. Maybe not in a campaign.
Of course. We'd love to have you back.
I'd love to be.
And thank you again, Dan Maffei. This has been Orange State. I guess we have to wrap the show now. This has been the end. So I'm Grant Ryan. So for the entire Orange State staff, saying no, thank you.